The outside was quite dark. The wind blowing caused the trees to make some pretty loud rustling noises as Pico and Boyfriend were walking down the path, heading towards the building where Boyfriend said girlfriend's last known location was. The building was quite large, with some lights still on. Odd, really, since daycares shouldn't be open this late.
Let's get ourselves inside already. I swear the wind out here is so strong, it might blow my jacket off of me.
Pico demanded as he clutched his black jacket that he wore over his green sweater-like shirt to try and prevent the wind from blowing it away into the darkness of the night.
All right, let's go. I feel like I'm about to get hippo-terminal out here.
Boyfriend responded, clutching to his red cap to also prevent the wind from whisking it away too.
Hippo-terminal? Don't you mean hypothermia?
Pico corrected with a confused look as he went to the glass door to check if it was locked, grabbing the metal handle to shake it a little.
Potato, tomato. You get exactly what I mean.
Boyfriend shrugged off his mistake as Pico just rolled his eyes and sighed. As Pico was about to lockpick the door, it suddenly opened with a slow creak noise, which made Pico flinch a bit in surprise. Boyfriend also had his own shocked expression after seeing that. Though, neither were really afraid all that much. They've dealt with the supernatural before, after all.
Well, that was weird. Let's get our asses and go in.
The ginger gestured Boyfriend to go in.
Guess Casper felt like hanging around.
Boyfriend let out a laugh as the two men walked right into a supposed daycare that just seemed way too large to even be considered as such. Pico let out a snicker.
That was a bad joke.
Trying to hide his wobbly grin that he's trying hard not to form. Yeah, he found the joke funny, and Boyfriend noticed, but decided not to say anything so as to not frustrate the other. Once the two were inside, it strangely didn't resemble a typical daycare. They had expected a more playful and colorful setting, but instead found themselves in what seemed more like a functional facility. The doors, while color-coded, were of the mechanical sort, requiring a specific method of opening. The wooden flooring lacked the usual scattering of toys, though it was just the entrance. The walls, plain and white, were adorned with images of peculiar yet intriguing characters, complete with word bubbles and hot air balloons. One wall even featured a gathering of these odd figures. It all felt like an unusual blend, departing from the expected ambience of a daycare. Boyfriend then walked over to the check-in/registry desk. There he read the name of the daycare.
Banban's kindergarten?
The blue-haired male tilted his head in confusion.
That's an odd name, even for a daycare.
Sounds stupid.
Pico commented in a blunt manner that's typical of him to say.
Are you sure girlfriend is even here, B? This doesn't seem like the kind of place she'd be hanging around in.
Pico then raised a brow questioningly.
Unless you two have some sort of secret kid I don't know about?
He wasn't really being serious. Pico knows they don't. He was half teasing and half wondering.
Heck no!
Boyfriend shouted, making it clear he and girlfriend don't plan to have anytime soon, especially not with how they want to live their lifestyle of going on crazy adventures.
Besides, you remembered that you put a tracker on girlfriend's phone to keep up with our location in case we need extra help, right?
Pico made that ages ago due to the fact he also had other assassination jobs, but still wanted to keep up with the two dummies he had to keep safe.
Since you built it, then I'm confident that it's correct that she's here.
Boyfriend said proudly, showing Pico that he was confident in the ginger male's technological knowledge. Pico couldn't help but feel flattered as a quick blush crossed his face for a second. Besides, he could feel the power of the soul bond the two of them have with girlfriend. Even though it's not specifying where exactly she is in this whole place, it is letting him and Boyfriend know they are in the right place.
Yep, I felt that. All right. We'll look around to see if we can find her.
Boyfriend looked around the place and noticed the large red buttons.
Looks like we're gonna need to trigger those somehow to open the doors. Give me a boost, Pico!
Pico shook his head.
Why bother doing that when I can just use my...
When Pico reached into his pants, his eyes turned into cartoonish dots as he realized something.
B? Have you seen my guns?
Pico sounded like he was holding back from freaking out.
Oh, I think girlfriend borrowed those last week and didn't tell you.
Boyfriend answered simply, giving a nonchalant shoulder shrug.
What? Why?
Pico exclaimed in disbelief.
What could she possibly need those for? She has demon magic!
Pico's hands shook, appearing as if he was attempting to strangle the air.
Beats me. She said she wanted to look as cool as you do when kicking ass.
Boyfriend remarked, causing Pico to stand there for a moment, then walk towards the double-sided sofas near the entrance to sit down and gather his thoughts. He contemplated whether to be angry or to let it go because, admittedly, that was sweet, but also, girlfriend's actions were a bit frustrating. As Pico was gathering his thoughts, Boyfriend attempted to leap onto one of the sofas opposite to where Pico sat. His goal was to reach the large button above the entrance, evoking the agility of a basketball player aiming to press it. However, the button unleashed a painful shock of electricity, rendering Boyfriend's skeleton visible in a cartoonish fashion. This sight prompted Pico to immediately spring to his feet.
Boyfriend!
The ginger shouted, swiftly pushing Boyfriend down, only receiving a mild shock himself. Boyfriend, now lying on the floor, emitted smoke akin to a burnt barbecue, but thankfully remained alive.
I'm okay.
Boyfriend said with a pained groan, eliciting a sigh of relief from Pico. Certainly, they were not going to attempt that again. It appeared that the large buttons were equipped with a security system, necessitating something else to push them without enduring a severe electric shock.
Jeez, B, at least have some patience.
Pico scolded as he helped him up.
We're going to have to search for something around here that can press those large buttons. But really, who even thought of this kind of system for a daycare?
Pico complained reasonably, as this sort of security measure seemed excessive for a place meant for children to enjoy themselves.
Sorry.
Boyfriend squeaked out, with cartoonish tears streaming down his face. Pico sighed.
Wait here and sit this one out for a moment, while I look for something we can use to open the doors here.
He guided Boyfriend to sit down on the sofa he had occupied earlier, allowing the blue-haired male to gather himself and recover from the shock. Pico headed over to the registry area's desk, only now realizing just how empty the place was.
Where the heck is everyone? If the lights are on, shouldn't that mean someone's probably still here?
Pico asked himself as he searched through the desk, eventually acquiring some kind of blue keycard.
Hey, I found something!
Pico then headed back to Boyfriend to show him the keycard. Boyfriend looked at it and said,
Ooh! I saw a blue door with some kind of keycard lock on the side. Maybe it can work for that.
Boyfriend carefully got up, demonstrating a swift recovery.
Are you sure you're doing well now?
Pico asked, but tried not to show he was worried for the other. He was attempting to maintain the tough facade he had cultivated. Boyfriend chuckled.
I'm pretty quick to bounce back into action.
He said this to ease Pico's worries, which it did, as Boyfriend could see a small smile from the ginger male, a sign of his relief. The two headed over to the door Boyfriend mentioned, the wall adorned with a yellow sign next to the door featuring a wrench and screwdriver in a crossed position.
Maybe this is where we can find exactly what we need for those damn buttons.
Pico exclaimed as he used the blue keycard to open the door, only to be greeted by a drone and a cartoonish-looking remote perched atop some boxes. This sight left Pico with an expression of disbelief.
They cannot be serious!
The ginger male shouted, prompting Boyfriend to peer inside and chuckle at the toy and remote.
Sorry to tell you this, Peaks, but if it's inside a room with that kind of sign, I'm guessing that's what the employees use to push those buttons, since I don't see anything else here that can be used to reach high places.
Boyfriend said simply. As ridiculous as the devices appeared, Pico couldn't argue that what Boyfriend said was correct. Both of them went inside. Pico picked up the silly-looking remote that legitimately resembled something out of a cartoon. It was a black remote, rectangular in shape, with a red button and red antenna atop. Meanwhile, Boyfriend found a note that piqued his curiosity, picking it up from another box. Before Boyfriend could discern what the crumpled note said, he heard Pico shout in frustration.
Why is this thing not working?
Boyfriend glanced over and saw him repeatedly pressing the remote, attempting to activate the drone.
Maybe it needs batteries like all toys do?
Boyfriend pointed out, to which Pico inspected the back of the remote and opened it. Indeed, it needed batteries.
This does not seem like a very useful method for opening doors. Just saying.
Pico shouted once again in frustration, hoping whoever worked there heard his rant about such a mechanic.
I don't think anyone's here to hear you rant, babe.
Boyfriend remarked with a humorous chuckle, as Pico grumbled angrily to himself.
Come on, let's go find those batteries for that thing.
Boyfriend continued, stuffing the note into his pocket for the time being. The two made their way to the small cafeteria section. Boyfriend glanced towards the wall art depicting some kind of large green creature with funny-looking teeth and cartoony circle eyes. Its name, Jumbo Josh, was written above the speech bubble.
Jumbo Josh says, "Eat vegetables and fruits to become strong, like me."
Boyfriend read aloud what the wall character was saying, prompting him to scrunch his face in a bit of disgust.
Ugh, no thanks.
Boyfriend clearly wasn't a fan of veggies.
You could use some, though. It might help with your unhealthy donut addiction.
Pico said with a smug smirk, teasing Boyfriend, who responded with a pout. Pico found the batteries on the tables, praying internally that no kid had chewed on them and coated them with spit. He sighed in relief once he held them and felt they were dry. Once Pico placed the batteries inside, he headed out of the cafeteria, waving the remote.
I got the batter.
Pico was suddenly jump-scared by the active drone that just teleported towards his face and was hovering in the air.
What the fuck?
He jumped back.
How did it get here so fast?
Apparently, this thing can teleport. Look!
Boyfriend took the drone's remote from Pico to demonstrate, pressing the button twice, which indeed made it teleport to him.
How'd you figure that out?
Pico was quite surprised at the glowing green drone's ability.
Seriously, is this place really a daycare? What's with all the futuristic stuff?
Beats me!
Boyfriend shrugged, but he played a bit with the teleporting effect of the drone, moving from one spot and having the drone teleport there, then walking to another spot for the drone to teleport there. He giggled like an excited kid on Christmas while playing around with the drone's teleportation.
Give me that.
Pico went over to snatch the remote from Boyfriend's hand.
If you keep playing with it, you'll break it or use up all its battery.
Pico then started to maneuver the drone, which was honestly difficult. It kept hitting the wall instead of the large red button several times.
No, go over there. No, ah!
Pico was getting more annoyed as he tried to aim for the buttons. He heard a ding as he managed to hit the easier one of the two that was by the yellow door.
Finally, got one.
Pico huffed out a sigh. As he was aiming for the next red button above the exit/entrance, he stepped on the crumpled paper that was on the floor.
The heck did I just step on?
Pico exclaimed, looking down.
Oh!
Boyfriend gasped as he picked up the crumpled paper.
This was the paper I got from the boxes. It must have dropped when you snatched the remote from my hand.
Boyfriend then examined it and paled a bit with worry, his expression morphing into one of serious concern.
What is it?
Pico noticed Boyfriend's expression and walked over.
Look.
Boyfriend said with a rather quiet and grim tone as he showed Pico the note. The crumpled paper had something written on it, appearing as though black and red crayon had been used. Though the writing was so messy, one would think a child had really written it, had it not been for the messy doodles below. The note reads,
Dear
Boyfriend and Pico. No clue how I got here, but I got knocked out by some weird monster. Please help.
At the end was a little drawing of a heart with girlfriend's two-lettered initials next to it. Below, a doodle depicted girlfriend in stick figure form, her dress colored red, her chest exaggerated into two big circles, her eyes X's, and her tongue sticking out, implying she looked more dead than knocked out. It seemed she didn't have enough time to draw swirls. An arrow pointed to her with the word "me" written next to her doodle, followed by a drawing of what looked to be a very large and oddly drawn bird, mostly sketched with a red crayon. An arrow pointed to it with the word "monster" above. The note made it clear that whatever this monster was, it had been the one to knock her out and probably dragged her deeper into this place. Pico and Boyfriend looked at each other, worried and uncertain of what was going on, but they knew they needed to venture deeper into the daycare to find out. Pico aimed the drone at the large red button above the entrance/exit again, this time with a more determined look, and managed to hit it.
Got it.
Pico exclaimed as both he and Boyfriend heard the yellow door slide open.